are official. So homework, the quiz tomorrow is just going to be on graphing, okay? Graphing parabolas. That's the quiz. So that's all you have to study for tomorrow's quiz. But also on the homework is a whole page of solving proportions, okay? Solving proportions is a fraction of a proportion is a ratio equaling a ratio. And a ratio is a fraction, right? So a fraction equaling a fraction. Now, there's a difference between these and other equations that I've given you with fractions. If I give you like 2/5 x plus 4/5 equals 10/5, right? How do you do that?
Divide by 5.
What?
Divide all
Well, how about multiply everything by the denominator, right?
Oh, I meant that.
Right?
Yeah,
Multiply everything by 5, not divide, right? Multiply. And that immediately gets rid of your fraction, right?
Yes.
How is this kind of an equation different than this kind of an equation?
It's cross multiply.
Are you going to finish sometime soon? Thank you. Was that intentional or what? Okay. So, all right. So, how is this fraction equation different from these others?
Because those you cross multiply, those you.
But how are they different?
I know.
How would you know to
But
do?
we have two different denominators.
How would you know? How would you know to guys? How would you know whether you should be cross multiplying or multiplying by the denominator?
If something goes into if the top goes into the bottom, or the bottom goes into the top.
What do you notice that's different between this and all the others? How many fractions do you have here?
3.
You have 3 fractions. Boom, boom,
Oh,
boom.
if they all have the same.
Notice how many fractions are in these?
2.
Only 2. And there's no extra number. It's not 3/4 is equal to this fraction plus 2. There's not an extra thing. It's just a fraction equaling a fraction. You see that? You see the difference? You see the difference? I mean, I could write this too. Like 1/2 x plus 2 is equal to 12. That's not a proportion either, is it? Right? A proportion is only a fraction equaling a fraction. Okay? These are examples of things that are not proportions, right? These are things that I've taught in the past in how to solve. You multiply everything by the denominator, right? But for these, when they're proportions, you cross multiply, right? So we're going to do a few. They're really easy to do. So,
Wait, so should we write not proportions next to them? The ones that you wrote?
yeah, those are not proportions, right? If they have 3 terms, they're not proportions. 3 or more terms. The only way they're proportions if they're 2 fractions, right? Proportions means only 2 fractions, right? 1 fraction equaling another fraction. So we're going to cross multiply. So guys, the talking is driving me crazy. So I'm hearing something. I don't know who it is, but anyway. So during the lectures, I just appreciate if you don't talk or listen. So what I do is I notice if I multiply cross upstairs versus the downstairs, I'm going to choose the one that has an x in it. In this case, right? I like to do that one first because I like to have my x's on the left. If I choose the one with x's, then I'll have the x's on the left. So it's 3 times x. I'm doing this. 3 times x is 3x. And then I put an equal sign.
Oh, I've done this.
And then I do this. 4 times 21. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. So it's 84. Now I have a very simple equation to solve, right? Just divide by 3. Divide by 3. And then that gives me x is equal to 3 goes into 8 twice with 2 left over, so 8. X is 28. Okay? Does that make sense?
This is.
Yes.
This is really easy, right?
Oh, wait, wait. Hold
Really,
on.
really easy so far? You
Yeah.
get it? Fist to 5, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Awesome.
Dude, we learned this last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did. Now, this is also a proportion. It looks way more complicated than that. And it is a little bit. But don't do this stuff in your head. Now, notice I have an 8 times, the x is in this one, so I'm going to do that one first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do, but I'm not going to do it in my head. I'm going to write 8 parenthesis this blob, x minus 8, is equal to 4 times 2 is 8. Do you see that?
Yep.
Oh, see that? Makes sense? And so now, what do I do?
Now you do the property thing. Where,
Distributive property? Okay,
distributive
that's fine.
property.
We'll do that. So we got 8x minus 64 is equal to 8. Right? Now what do I do? Add 64. What does that give me?
71.
72 maybe?
Yeah.
Right? And then divide by 8. And what does that give me?
X equals 7. 9.
Right? 9 times 8 is 72, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Does it make sense? Do you see
Yeah.
it?
No,
It's pretty straightforward, right? Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Now this one is a little bit harder. The difference with this one is, notice, if I go this way, I'm going to have x's, and if I go this way, I'm going to have x's. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
2 times this is going to have an x in it, and 14 times this is going to have an x in it. I like to choose the one that's going to give me the largest number of x's first. Largest number of x's. 14, I'm going to do this one first. That way I'll have my final x's on the left, because I'll have more x's on the left, right? So that gives me 14 times x, or 14x, is equal to, and then I'm going to use parentheses again, right? It's 2 times that blob. 2 times the x plus 30, right? Now, what do I do now?
14.
Distributive property.
Okay, distributive property. Caleb, you writing this stuff down? 14x is equal to 2x plus 60, right? Now what do I do?
You subtract 60.
No.
Oh, wait, no. You subtract 2x.
Right, remember, I'm trying to get all the x's on one side, right? And as long as there's x's on both sides, I can't solve it. So I'm going to take the smaller number of x's, I'm going to subtract them from both sides. And that way it gives me
X equals
12x
5.
is equal to 60,
X equals 5.
divide by 12, and that gives me x is equal to 5. Awesome. Let me do one, let me see, is that going to help? Yeah, let me do one more. So that was 3, 4. One more. Okay. Okay, so we have 2x over x minus 6 is equal to 5/6. All right, what do I do? Which one would you do first?
The 2x and 6, right?
Yes, because this would give me 5x, right? Minus something. This would give me 12x. I agree with you. So I'm going to do this first. So 12x equals, and then, right, because 2 times 6 is 12, right? So 12x is equal to, I've got to do 5 times this blob, x minus 6. Okay? And now I'm going to use my distributive property, and that gives me 12x is equal to 5x minus 30. Now what do I do?
Subtract 5x.
Subtract 5x.
And then you get 7x.
7x
Equals
is equal to negative 30,
Yeah.
right?
negative.
Divide by 7. And in this case, 7 doesn't go in evenly, right?
So it's x.
So I'm just going to say x is equal to negative 30 over 7. That's totally legal.
Okay.
Totally fine. You don't have to turn it into a mixed number. You don't have to do the division. Just leave it. Just make sure you don't forget your negative sign in your answer. So fist to 5. They're pretty easy, right? Pretty straightforward.
This is easy.
You just have to remember you have to know the difference. All right? Tell me what this is. Tell me which method you use for this one. Whoops, sorry. Plus 2. Would I use cross multiplication?
No.
No.
Oh,
No, because there's 3 terms, right? If I didn't have that, now what would I do? Cross multiply, right? You see the
because isn't
difference?
it just like basically 2x over 4?
Yes, and if you see it like this, 2/4 x, the x goes with the numerator.
So
Any
yeah, no,
number,
it's 2x.
any whole number always goes upstairs with the numerator, right? So that could be written as 2x over 4
For
is
some
equal
reason
to
that's
3/4.
easier for me to understand.
And I could, we'll just do this really fast. So that gives me 8x, right, is equal to 12. Divide by 8, divide by 8, x is equal to 4 goes into both 3 halves, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so fist of 5, you're all, it's pretty clear. All right, so I'm going to basically just give you the homework to work on right now.
Yeah.
Okay? Hopefully you guys will be done by the end of class.
So is it just about